Welcome back to another episode of the Boro4Boro podcast, where we take a bite out of the Big Apple real estate scene. I'm Matthew Wynter, here with my co-host,
Traci Byers.
And we are joining you today from the Real Deal Forum at the Metropolitan Pavilion in NYC. Now, this is an extra special episode because not only are we outside of our typical studio, but we're having a conversation with someone that you normally are not going to have a conversation with, which is going to make it even more exciting. So we are joined today by Jordan Morris, who is the COO of Charney Companies, and she is the COO of Construction specifically. Now, construction is the most important thing in real estate, right?
Absolutely.
Because without the construction, there's nothing for us to sell. So Jordan, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here, Jordan.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is super cool. So Jordan, tell us not only about you, but about your journey that got you to this point.
Sure. So I have an engineering degree from Penn State University. I was always growing up very analytical, very math and science oriented, but I also always had a keen eye for architecture. I loved big buildings. I loved coming into New York City. And so I went to college. I got an engineering degree, and at the end of my time at school, I was interviewing with construction companies, engineering firms, and I went to these engineering firms, and I just couldn't be sitting at a desk all day doing AutoCAD. And I looked around and I saw what my life was going to be like, and it just wasn't exciting. And I had no idea that construction was this big option for a career. And so I went to some construction companies for some interviews. They toured me around job sites, and it was so exciting. Like, every day was different, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And so that's what I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
And in New York City, you're not expecting, when you hear construction, we're used to the big talk buildings and the hard hats and this gritty exposure. And it's not that you're not that, but in many ways, what construction actually looks like, I'm sure a lot of us get wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that grittiness to it and the hard hats and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when you have a construction management firm and a construction team, it's, the teams these days, we have engineers, we have architects, we have designers, we have safety people, we have the actual skilled craftspeople doing the work, we have community liaisons. It's the team is just growing and growing. Every year that we're doing construction.
That's great. Yeah. So what does a day-to-day look like with you and your job?
Well, for me now, so back in January, I started at Charney as the COO of Construction. So now I'm overseeing a little bit more all of our projects. I'm across all of our projects. Sorry, my headphones are falling off. And so I'm really checking in on the health of the project, how the schedule's going, how the finances are going on the project. I walk the jobs, I check in with the teams, things like that. Lately, we have a very large project that we're getting started up in Gowanus, and so I've been spending a lot more time in the detail with the team and helping first build the team, second get into the documents, into the drawings, start awarding trades, and getting ready to start construction.
Oh, that's exciting. And the Gowanus project was something that we definitely wanted to talk to you more about. So what is it specifically about the Gowanus one that you think it makes it cutting edge? Because Gowanus is an area of Brooklyn that has long been ripe for development. But now that you guys are doing such a big project, you guys don't do small things. What is it about Gowanus specifically that you're optimistic about?
Well, during COVID, Sam Charney and his team, they made some really big bets on Gowanus, and they acquired a whole bunch of sites. We actually have one completed building there. We have 3 others currently in various phases of construction, and then we have this fourth one that is we just started piles, so we're just started foundations there, and the first project on Union Street, I believe that's 95% occupied. But this one on 3rd Street that we're getting started it's over 1,000 apartments. It's 1.2 million square feet. It is designed by Bjarke Ingels Group, which is a very, very world-renowned architect, and the design team there is just so incredibly exciting. And so that's what I'm most excited about right now is that particular project because of the size of it, the design, and everything.
Wow, that's amazing.
That sounds cool. And correct me if I'm wrong. Again, we as realtors, we deal with the product after it's already been
Right.
constructed. But how common is it for Charney to be having even a COO of construction, doing it internally? I would imagine a lot of folks would imagine that a lot of the work is contracted out or dealt with third parties. Is it unique for Charney to have an in-house department that's doing that?
I wouldn't say it's totally unique. There are some. So we're a vertically integrated company. There are some others in the city that do it that way and across the country. But we feel that it brings us so much more efficiency to make decisions early, make decisions quickly when they need to be made. And getting the construction team in the room with the designers very early on, we're able to guide the design process a little bit too, so that we don't have for example, an expensive detail that needs to get built by 3 different trades at one point. We can refine that while still making a really beautiful product.
So since it's in-house, most developers hire out, like Matthew said. What problems are you actually solving that a general contractor wouldn't be able to solve?
So a lot of the problems that we are solving, it's more about the time and when in the process we're able to solve them. So for example, on 3rd Street, we sit down and we look at some of these early details that come through early on in the design process, and we say, wow, this window detail is going to require 3 different trades to be in and out. The materials are going to be expensive. We'll have to do X, Y, and Z. Where when we can all sit around and refine that detail and change it around a little
That's
bit.
amazing.
Later on, when the team's out there building it, that's when we recognize the savings.
You guys are like eagle eye, like
Yes.
you can see everything and then
Exactly right.
notice the
Yes.
changes and
Exactly
fix
right.
them quickly. That's great.
But I'm sure everyone wants to boil the ocean. Everyone wants to do everything.
Yes.
So I'm sure, you can't have quality, you can't have speed, and you can't have it all be on budget, can you?
Of course.
You can. Okay, because, a lot of people think that in order to go fast, it means that you're going to have to blow through your budget,
Yeah.
or the quality may not be
Yeah,
good.
cut
But that doesn't
corners.
necessarily always have to be the case, right?
Exactly. A lot of times it is the case, and look, it's really hard when you have a certain design or a certain vision that the architect has. Sometimes it is very hard to execute that vision on time and within budget, but that's where we're able to work on some of those details that maybe you don't see at the end of the day. Everything's buried behind the wall,
Right.
And we can make some efficiencies there, or changing out certain types of materials that look almost exactly the same, but come from maybe we find a countertop that comes from a different quarry that's cheaper, but still just as high quality. And there's a whole iterative process of value engineering built in.
So you're a COO of construction at a major New York developer. That's still not a common thing, right? So what did the path look like, and how hard was it to get there to where you are now?
Oh, that's a good one. So my path started, I graduated college. I actually started out in Washington, D.C., in the D.C. metro area in construction for about 6 years, and then I moved up to New York. I started in New York working at a very, very big general contracting company, and I worked on some really, really high-profile projects. So in 2012, when I moved here, I was working on 400 Park Avenue South. I worked on 56 Leonard. I worked on the MoMA Tower. I worked on some really
Real notable projects.
Yeah.
big projects, and I think that helped catapult me to where I am now. because those are really, they were notable projects, but they were really hard projects. Like, they were difficult, like, look at 56 Leonard, like, those were like feats of engineering,
Yeah.
And so it was really exciting. And from there, I never really said no. Like, I did a whole bunch of different roles. I rehabbed a subway station. I did like punch list work. I did everything.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter, and I just learned so much by doing that.
Absolutely.
And here I am now.
I mean, to that point, a lot of your career involves you being able to roll your sleeves up, be outside of the office.
Yep.
That's something I know you're a big proponent of. Being able to get that balance of being on site, being able to, as we would say, touch the product. Do you think that actually has made you stronger at what you do in the office by being able to have an idea of what it needs to look like on the end?
Absolutely. There's a lot to say for looking at a set of plans and then going out to the field and physically seeing how something's built in real life. And I think a lot of where I learned was speaking to like the foreman and the tradespeople and asking, how do I fix this issue? You just learn so much by getting out there and touching and feeling everything and talking to the people who are actually doing work. It's great.
No, that's super cool. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go a little bit deeper into talking about what's on the horizon for you and your team at Charney, because the New York landscape is evolving really quickly, and so I'm sure there's a lot of exciting changes that you're working on that we're going to be seeing in the next few years. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back, and we'll talk to you soon.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Debbas is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdebbas.com.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
All right, welcome back to Boro4Boro. So again, we are here with Jordan Morris, and we're having an interesting conversation about construction. I don't know about you, Traci. This is the most that I've probably talked about the product itself before we actually get to the finish line.
Yep.
But I'm learning a ton. This is a masterclass by you, Jordan.
Yeah.
And so before the break, we were having some conversations about, the actual process of you getting here. But now that we're here and Charney's doing some amazing things, we're at this interesting crossroads in New York City where there's, we're not making any more land in New York, and Brooklyn is a hot place right now, right?
Yes.
But I'm sure that there's just been a lot of places on the horizon that I want to be able to go into. But Traci, why don't you take us from there?
Okay, so before we went to break, we were talking about your role and how it took you to get there. So would you say that the pipeline for women in construction is actually improving? And how does it look like 5 to 10 years in from now? Your vision?
Yes, so I definitely think it's improving. I can tell you when I first started out, I was always the only woman in the room.
Wow.
I sometimes, depending, I still am, but on the last project I worked on, we were almost half and half, the project team of women, and I was like,
that's awesome.
So excited about that, so proud of that. But yeah, every year that goes by, I see more and more women coming into construction. And I think it's only going to get better from here on out. I think it's great.
Do you think that there's a lot more because a lot of it is what you see. When you see something, you believe that you can do it. And so having women like yourself who are doing amazing things at big companies and working on some of the most notable projects in the city, I have to imagine that is going to increase the pipeline of folks who are going to college and saying, hey, maybe I'll get into construction, take that engineering degree, and then one day be able to say that I worked on some of these big projects. But do you think that a lot of the focus on regionally in Brooklyn. Do you see that is kind of like the place right now? Or are there any other areas in New York City that you think are still primed for development?
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn is definitely like very hot right now as far as construction.
Yeah.
There's also a lot going on in the market with conversions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those are, and I'm sure the two of you know a lot about
yes.
that.
Yes.
And that's going on all over the place. But Long Island City is also beaming right now with
Queens.
Yes. So I think I
It's
don't
like
know.
ding, 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 ding.
I'd have to lean a little bit more on my development colleagues about that one.
Yeah.
But I would say Brooklyn is definitely on the list, and Long Island City as well.
Are there different, I guess the best way to put it is, different types of product that you bring to different neighborhoods? So for example, is the way that you would approach construction in, say, Gowanus the same that you would approach Long Island City or another neighborhood? Or does it not matter? Because if you're delivering quality, you're delivering quality.
Yes. As far as what we build, where we build it, as far as, are we going to do a condo versus a rental, that is something usually decided way before I enter the conversation.
Yeah.
But for example, we're building a condo in Long Island City. We're building another condo building in downtown Brooklyn, but all of our stuff in Gowanus is rental. And so that's a little out of my breadth to decide where we're going to build those types of things.
Yeah,
But,
I would be curious to know the thought behind it. Why rentals? Is it because of the housing crisis in the city? Like, do you have any take on that?
I'm sure some of it has to do with the tax incentive programs.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Gowanus projects are 421A,
Right.
Which that has an extension
attractive.
to it. Yes, but the new 485X is a whole other thing.
A whole nother episode.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, the number 99, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Again, that's a little bit more for my development colleagues to answer on to where they decide to put what type of product.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost envisioning you as like this mad scientist with construction where you're like, what gets you excited about it is probably the things that we're not getting excited about.
Yeah.
Like, is it a certain material? Like, what is it?
What excites you?
What excites me is just every single day is different, and really all we're doing is we're just solving problems and putting out fires every single day.
Oh my gosh, sounds a lot like us.
Sounds like you're a realtor.
Yeah, really.
You want to trade jobs for a day? She's like, no.
I'll try it out. But there's always an issue, and it's whether it's like a physical issue with materials, whether it's, God forbid, a safety issue, or someone next door complaining about how much noise we're making. Like, there's just anything under the sun you can think of we have to deal with every day.
Having done this in DC, as you said, and then coming to New York, are there stark differences in what those kind of issues are? Are there uniquely New York issues?
Yes, I mean,
I would think so.
New York is just such a special place.
Yes.
I mean, the lack of space, the heights of buildings,
The restrictions,
pushing engineering in New York, yes, and then the restriction down in DC. But New York, there's nothing like New York and building in New York, I don't think.
I mean, we would agree.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like selling in New York.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But to that point, as we said, there's a lot of exciting things happening in Queens that are happening in Brooklyn. But we're also in this moment in time where there's a big focus on being green, on being, there's all these terms that to the person who's not doing the inside baseball doesn't know what that means. We had a conversation offline about geothermal engineering. Like, what does that even mean? Because for someone who buys the product and they hear that it was made sustainably and was done all these things, to them it just sounds like a markup. But what does it actually mean?
So specific to geothermal?
Yeah, geothermal or any other thing that maybe we want to debunk as well.
Yeah, well, so geothermal is a whole separate type of engineering. So on one of my past projects was a geothermal building. Essentially what we had to do was drill 321, 499 feet deep wells underneath the structure of the building.
Wow.
And in within every single one of those wells, there was a U-shaped pipe, and the water or the glycol, some sort of material goes down into the earth, and it comes back up. And during the summer, it helps cool the building, and during the winter, when the earth is warmer, it helps heat the building. So then we don't need to bring gas into the building. We don't need to.
Wow.
Incredible.
And so that is a really great way to heat and cool your buildings. Like, people do it in their houses if they have the space and the type of climate that they live in. And so that is a wonderful way to do that. It is. It can be very expensive, and it can have some time constraints. You can add a lot of time to your schedule.
Yeah.
So you really have to have the right project for it to work. But there's other things. Having low flow fixtures, we talk about, which saves water. There are certain things that are real.
Yeah.
And then there's some things maybe that are just a little marketing speak, but.
That a realtor or two can be able to say, well, this house was geothermally made.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good selling point.
Do you think we'll see more and more of that, or is that something that's kind of you'll see every here and there?
I think so. There's a project up in northern Manhattan that's doing it, and at the time that we were doing ours, we could only go 499 feet deep, because otherwise in New York City you needed a mining permit.
Oh, wow.
But
So once you hit that 500, that's what happens.
That's right.
That
Yep.
makes sense.
So since
course.
then they've changed it, and so I think you can go down to 800. Don't quote me on that, but I think you can go down to 800 feet, which just allows more heat and more cooling. Like, the further the liquid travels and comes back up, it just
Takes time.
it makes it a little more efficient.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's here to stay. They're figuring out how to do it in existing buildings now.
Are there things that, again, now I'm like fascinated
Yeah,
to
me
do.
too.
I'm like, how is this building built?
Yeah.
But are there things that you are obviously on the forefront of, that you're saying in maybe 10 years, we probably need to be doing more of those things, or at least it's going to catch up with us?
That's a hard question.
I promise you
Yeah.
no hardballs. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Honestly, I think we're just trying, especially here at Charney, we're trying to make a product that is beautiful, that people want, that lasts. It's going to last a lifetime. We're not looking just to put these,
Thank you.
cardboard boxes up in the air. No, we want,
please don't.
and I think it's telling that we own and maintain our buildings. So we
Yeah.
are not looking to just dump them when we're finished with them. So we're looking for a quality product that people want to live in for a long time.
Yeah.
So for those buyers out there, for you guys, what's one thing a buyer should ask a new development building that they've never thought of asking before?
I don't know. I mean, if it were me and I were buying my own place,
Yeah.
I would ask about definitely cost of utilities, how efficiencies with that. I would ask about the building materials, and that's probably what I would say.
Now, let's stay on that of you as a buyer, because now I'm curious. We've had lawyer clients. There's all different type of clients who are savvy in their respective fields. I've never had a client that was in construction. So I would imagine, do you think that makes you more acutely focused on that specific angle, where that's going to matter more to you than anything else in a transaction?
Yes, I think in my career, I have been the person walking as part of the construction team with a buyer of a $40 million condo, right? And they kind of look around, and I'm just, if that were me, I would be looking at every tiny little thing and probably picking it apart. I would be the worst client.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
what things, like say they walk into a new dev apartment, what should they look for? Where's the first place they should go? Is it the kitchen? Is it the bathroom?
Yeah, probably the kitchens and the bathrooms. I mean, that's where I'd be looking at scratches. I'd be running all the fixtures, making sure they work properly, putting the washer and dryer on. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And so I would imagine that you're able to then see some of those small little things like a crack that we may glance over on a punch list.
Yeah.
Some of those things could be speaking to something much larger that probably started when construction started. Yep.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, this is fascinating.
All right.
I think now I'm going to be a different type of realtor after this, because now the materials, I'm going to be like, well, was this geothermally made? No, I'm kidding.
No, but it's very inspiring to see
absolutely.
someone, a woman, of course, like in
Absolutely.
the role that you're in, and I've learned so much. And it's actually inspired me to really look into construction a little bit more on my part, because I do want to go into flipping and, renovating myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, Jordan, thank you so much for this. This was a great episode. I learned a lot too. But for you at home, it doesn't stop here. For anyone who wants to be able to learn more about Charney Companies and the amazing work that you're doing in Gowanus and beyond, where can they reach out to you guys?
They can come to our website, charneycompanies.com.
It's amazing. And then again, I'm Matthew Wynter,
And Traci Byers.
and this has been another episode of Boro4Boro. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure that you hit that like, that follow, and that subscribe button to stay on top of all of our episodes. And make sure you go back and check out any of the old ones if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.